So I guess no gavel. Sorry, guys. So welcome, everyone. This is the September meeting of the El Dorado Hills Area Planning Advisory Committee. I'm the chair, John Davey. Vice Chair John Raslier is right here. Vice Chair Brooke Washburn is, you know what? I'm getting feedback from this. Anyways, Vice Chair Brooke Washburn is online. And Vice Chair Tim White is in Italy. So we're all doing something wrong. So welcome you again tonight to come up and participate with us as we look at what's on our agenda here tonight. We need to announce at the beginning of the meeting. Last month, we had these microphones out in the crowd. Half of our meeting was not recorded because people were not talking into them. Tonight, when we do public comment, there's a microphone on that stand right there. We'll ask you to come up and stand in front of it, talk right at it. The microphones don't amplify the room, but it is for our recording and for the people who are watching via Zoom or YouTube. So with that, we're gonna get things underway. The thing I need to remind everybody too is because as we've done so many draft EIR reviews in the last several months, we've had so many project presentations. Public comments, we've never been very strict about it, but we gotta be so we can get, we've had 3-hour meetings. We need to knock that under 2 hours. So public comments are limited to 3 minutes per participant per agenda topic. So with that, we ask that you indulge us as we try to get through this and get the information out so everybody can hear it. So calling the meeting to order. The first action for us tonight is the adoption of the meeting agenda if there's no objections. All right, so the meeting goes forward with the agenda as presented. So as I mentioned, the very first opportunity we have tonight is public comment. So if you have a comment you'd like to make on anything that's not on our agenda tonight, we'd ask you to come up to this microphone over here. It's on. Just start speaking. And then if you have anything you want to talk about while we're addressing specific projects, we ask you to hold on to those questions until those projects come up. Linda.
Hello.
Hello there.
My name is Linda Campbell. I live in El Dorado Hills. It's been brought up before, but there's a project called the Bass Lake Apartments that was recently reviewed in the Zoning Commission. So I want to address that since it won't be on the agenda. In that, there was a lot of community that showed up, and it was great. It ended up, the zoning commissioner did in fact approve the split that was being done. There's an organization that got together and has now appealed that decision. So a couple of the things that I would mention in that, they reference the fact that we were informed that we should not consider anything related to the development itself, only the zoning split. So what they provided was what's called, that's known as piecemeal development or segmentation. And in their appeal, they actually listed 4 different court rulings in California that were specifically against that. So one of the reasons I want to bring that up too is because there was a zoning commission meeting today for the Gateway R&D project that was basically doing the same thing. So it's just for information for the public and the reason to keep an eye on things and also to be able to get together, brainstorm ideas. Different people have different skills and expertise, and that's why it's important we get together. If anybody's interested in the Bass Lake Apartments item, they have a website called opposebla.com. So opposebla.com. So thank you.
Linda, do you know when the appeal is coming to the Board of Supervisors? Because I haven't received notice of that yet.
So they were saying potentially September 24th.
24th. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And the reason that we're not reviewing that, we did mention that when that became a project that was submitted, it's close to El Dorado Hills, but we also have, I'm trying to count it, 3 draft environmental impact reports going on right now. We expect to be reviewing those for the end of this year, potentially more coming up. Technically, that project's not in El Dorado Hills. If we were light, we would probably take another look at it, but also the state law with that, as Linda had mentioned, it's real weird. So we didn't have the bandwidth right now to even talk about it, but the residents do. So if you're interested, as Linda mentioned, follow up with that website. I know they're posting online next door on Facebook as well. So
It's District 2, George Turnbull's
Yeah.
district. So
Yeah.
that's your supervisor.
Good evening.
Hey, John, but is that something maybe we want to just put a link on our website too?
We can.
That's pretty loud, anyway.
Just blew my hearing aid out.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. But we can hear you loud and clear. Thank you.
Okay.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good evening, commissioners. Good evening, everyone. My name is Juan Quevedo. I'm a carpenter. My name is Juan Quevedo, a carpenter from the area. I come before you to advocate for the implementation of fair wages on all upcoming developments projects in our city. These standards, including fair wages, healthcare, accredited apprenticeship, local hire, are essential to ensure the growth benefits to all residents. By prioritizing this as important from the well-being of our community and creating opportunities for everyone to thrive, I ask you to consider these standards as vital steps towards a more equitable and prosperous future of El Dorado Hills. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Here comes a familiar face.
Here
comes Trump.
Who used to be on that
This is
side of
Robert,
the
come
table.
on.
Just two things. The Supervisor Turnbull could not be here for health reasons today. I expect that he will be on Zoom, so you might want to keep an eye open for him. The second thing is, I also wanted to alert everybody to the fact that the zoning commission, well, not the zoning commission, the planning commission now has 5, perhaps 6 specific plans ahead of us to look at yet this year. Put that into perspective. We only have 6 total specific plans in this area. And now we're looking at 5 or perhaps 6. And so you folks are going to have a lot of things to look at, as I will be. Just wanted to give you a heads up on that. So thank you.
Thank you, Bob.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes, you sure can.
Can the county hire people to come in to help work on those plans?
You'd have to look at our
The
supervisors for
answer is
that.
yes, and we have that capacity through basically contract services. So, but my understanding right now is that several of those specific plans, at least at the Board of Supervisors review, are gonna move into next calendar year.
Yes.
Not achievable this year.
No,
That was the
absolutely
original
not.
goal, but they're
No.
just not achievable. So stay tuned, because as we go through the process, there's determinations that more information is necessary, whatever, before it goes to the planning commission
Mhm.
and ultimately the board. So things are slipping to the right, as you might expect.
Which ones are going to be put off till next year? Do you
I
know?
can't tell you which ones are gonna be put off, because I have not seen anything from planning that says definitively this is gonna be pushed off. They're all trying to keep their schedules as best they can.
Okay.
But it really comes down to what kind of letters are received and what kind of issues come up with the draft EIRs. And what is the resolution of those draft EIRs, mitigation measures? And so that's all under consideration at this point, because I think we have 3 major projects with draft EIRs that are being reviewed, if not 4, so.
Yeah, there's 5 now, so.
Including District 2. I'm
Right.
looking at
Okay,
District
sorry.
1 stuff, but yeah, so
Okay.
anyway, yeah, across the board.
Mhm.
There's a
And that
whole
doesn't
list.
include projects like we're hearing again tonight that have been in the mail for a long, long time.
Right.
And so John and the other supervisor who will be termed out in a couple of months will have a lot of work to do between now and then also. So we'll keep his nose to the groundstone also.
Yep,
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Bob.
Okay, so are there any other public comments in the room on non-agenda topics? Seeing none, I'll look at Zoom. Are there any members of our Zoom audience that has a public comment for items that are not on our agenda? Go ahead and click the raise hand button on your Zoom application. Oh, Brooke, go ahead.
Okay, so real quick, in one of my many other hats, it's come to my attention that there's a problem or an issue at the county level with the permit approval of the snack shack at the Jeff Mitchell Field. And in being notified of this issue, it raises some other concerns about ongoing projects when we're developing fields or public parks, how we go about designating space or things like a snack shack or a concession stand. I think we would want to take into account not only at the county level, but also at the district level. So just wanted to make aware of that condition. I think it's the only snack shack we have in our El Dorado Hills area.
Okay, I know that the county has had challenges with permit processing in terms of capacity, bandwidth. And I know the fire department did for a while too, but they've made some good progress in terms of how they're able to respond to those. But for that specific one, Brooke, if you want to circulate that among the APAC members, and we can see what we can see, right? And as long as you give us some visibility to it, we could take a look.
So
I would
Brooke,
love
was
that. Yeah.
Was that an application filed by the El Dorado Hills Community Services District? I'm not familiar with this. So who filed the
Yeah,
request?
so it's a stale application that was
Stale, okay.
filed before COVID. An extension was given. It is a CSD that's the applicant. The end user is the Little League. And right now it's a use designation issue, but it's a prefabricated building with no occupancy. So it seems like something we could get through and not be told that we need to tear it down. So I'm hoping that we can get some eyes on it and better understand what the issues are, especially apply those as we move forward with other projects and parks that are going to be built.
Yeah, if you could send an email to my office, we can address it because I wasn't aware of this latent process that somehow got stalled from pre-COVID. So yeah, please provide the information so we can take a look at it.
That would be wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Brooke. Okay. So I gotta watch what it's hard to talk and drive. Sorry, guys. So with that, there are no other public comments, non-agenda items. We like to take an opportunity before we move to our next item to remind people how you become a voting member of APAC. So we start by saying, if you live in El Dorado Hills, you're a member of APAC. If you want to become a voting member, we ask you to participate in one of our review subcommittees or ad hoc committees. If you don't think you know how, trust me, we didn't know how either. And I always say, you might have a better way, and we're interested in learning for anybody who wants to participate. So we always remind people, the officer emails are at the top of our agenda and on our website, edhapac.org. Our email address is there, and you can sign up for our email list there, and we send one email a month, and that's for the agenda for this meeting. So we'll try not to spam you. So with that, we'll move ahead. The next item on the agenda tonight, we have supervisor communications. And as Bob had mentioned, that Supervisor Trimble is under the weather. I don't see him virtually, but if he does show up, we can go ahead and, of course, he's always welcome to present any information he has, but Supervisor Heidal's here tonight. Your microphone's on. Proceed.
Okay, so I just want to give you a brief update on what the county's focus is right now. In our planning and building department, the number one priority that we're working on is objective design standards. And those are intended to be county-wide. So these are design standards that could be reviewed with respect to mandatory type of provisions, those that would allow us to say we need to have road improvements, we need to have other improvements associated with this project. So instead of being a discretionary project, we're looking on those that are directed by the state to be more ministerial. But if we have objective design standards, we can go back and say, yes, but we want this for our community and impose that as a requirement. So to date, we have not had that ability because we haven't had, and the key word is objective. They can't just be motherhoods associated with design standards. We like a perfect community. We like perfect combinations. We like everything to be consistent with our current architectural themes, etc. That doesn't work. You have to be very specific on what you mean from an objective design standards, community by community. So the county's taken on the responsibility of looking at it community-wide, and then it's going to be broken down by individual communities within the county as to what the fine tuning will be. So I would anticipate, and we've been pushing for this for like 6 years, El Dorado Hills having the ability to have an El Dorado Hills design standards that are objective that we can use for things like architectural themes, et cetera, for projects that we have within El Dorado Hills. The one that comes to mind immediately probably is the Costco project, and they are moving forward. So we're expecting to receive on September 9th their inputs in terms of the replanning associated with that project site. And I understand there's substantial changes that are being processed or in work, and they'll be submitted to the county. But September 9th, our planning and building department has a meeting with a lot of the Costco representatives to really look at what that project's going to be. And when we look at architectural themes, aesthetics, those kinds of considerations, that's where these objective design standards would make a difference, primarily on ministerial projects. Costco is not a ministerial project. We're going to have a full EIR, draft EIR associated with that. So it's not like we have to rush for that one, but across the county, we've had Dollar Generals, Dollar Trees, all kinds of proposals, which the local communities, and most of these are rural communities, do not like. So these objective design standards will allow us to say, no, only if you provide basically mitigations that address the local needs, aesthetic appeal, making it balance with the overall community, whatever they may be. So that's what we're trying to work on. So that's kind of our number one priority right now. And so there have been delays in responding to other calls. But the other thing I want to point out is that we opened tonight, we had an open house for the El Dorado County Clubhouse, which is part of NAMI, National Association for Mental Illness, and trying to provide services for all the people who need that support and help in terms of finding the ability to find a job. It's educational stuff, it's training stuff, but that office is open now in Placerville. It's a major step forward for us, I believe, as a community across El Dorado County. And so anyone in need of those kinds of services, it's an open clubhouse membership. Anyone you know of in El Dorado Hills that would like to be part of that club, to be able to associate with people who have similar aspirations in life, but just don't know how to get there, the clubhouse is going to help them get there. So there's all kinds of advantages to getting people engaged in that and representing the needs of our community. So I want to make sure that's important, because NAMI is an incredible organization. They've done great things across the state of California. They're doing great things locally, but we all need to recognize that's a service for referrals. When you know somebody in need of mental health assistance, contact the county, contact NAMI, contact somebody that helps them. I think most of us have heard about the shootings in Georgia. And when you listen to that storyline, it's troubling, because evidently this was a known issue, and yet it wasn't addressed properly by law enforcement. If we know those issues are out there, we need to have law enforcement engage, but ultimately they need to get help. And that help is provided through any number of services the county offers, through NAMI offers, and other organizations. So I just want to encourage anybody, if you know somebody who's suffering from mental illness, mental stress, and we know a lot of our high school students are, that's a known fact, please refer them to some form of assistance where they can get some help, because that's the best thing we can do to assist them on their path to a better future. So with that, I'm going to leave it unless there's any questions.
I'll get your question real quick, Linda. I will remind everybody that the Clubhouse El Dorado made a presentation, the El Dorado Hills Community
Yes.
Council.
Yes.
That meeting recording is posted on the APAC YouTube channel. So if you want to go and look underneath Community Council, and that's there. It was very informative. So Linda, you got a, sorry, up and down. Sorry, we're used to a conversational sort of thing, but we got to.
With the exercise.
Okay.
So Supervisor Howard, I'll thank you for the update. So one thing that you mentioned in the objective standards, you actually brought up roadways, but we have something very objective, and it was our voter approved Measure E.
Right.
And there is a standard in there that says traffic from residential development projects of 5 or more units or parcels of land shall not result in or worsen level of service F. I understand LOS thing. Traffic congestion during weekday peak hour periods on any highway, road, interchange, or intersection in the unincorporated area of the county. And then TCXA 7 says, before giving approval of any kind to a residential development project of 5 or more units or parcels of land, the county shall make a finding that the project complies with the policies above. That first one I just referenced. If this finding cannot be made, then the county shall not approve the project in order to protect the public's health and safety as provided by state law, to assure that safe and adequate roads and highways are in place as such development occurs. So that is not subjective statement. I think that's very clear and
Right.
objective.
For discretionary projects, absolutely. But not for ministerial projects, which the state rather, is edicting more and more. SB 35, SB 330, on and on and on. Those are the ones that we need to have objective design standards for, to be able to impose requirements.
But even in those bills, it doesn't say to overthrow everything in the county, particularly those things related to health and safety.
Correct.
And roadways are definitely a safety issue.
Correct.
So,
But we've had any number of proposals, some of them tribal related, that it makes it very difficult to, go down that path and determine what authority the county has over them. Because right now, my understanding is very limited when it's a tribal activity. So,
tribal is potentially different.
yes.
But some of the other ones.
But if we have objective design standards, we can try to impose those subject to whatever federal government allows. So,
John, I believe I read some of those objective design standards today. And in there was something about trucks where they'll look
so
at.
what source are you referring to? 'Cause I haven't seen anything yet come from planning and building. So
I
what are you
saw
seeing?
something objective design, and it was something about trucks, I think that we're all interested in, especially as far as Gateway, where
Yeah.
they'll look at a
Oh.
project and
Gateway
they'll
specific,
say, where are these
Gateway
trucks?
is not a ministerial project, but okay.
I'm not talking about ministerial, but this is the objective design that you were talking about. They'll look at a project and they'll say, okay, the project is going to have trucks service it. They want to know where the trucks are going to go, if the streets can handle it, what streets will be changed to handle the trucks. And I think that's a big step forward, I believe.
So that was probably something that I circulated. It was posted, I want to say on Cal Matters, about, it's an assembly bill.
Right,
It's
from the
waiting-
state,
It's
yes.
waiting for the governor to sign
Yes,
or not
yes,
sign.
Yes,
So,
I'm familiar with that. So,
Okay.
okay, understand.
so
Yep.
that's probably where, sorry.
But that's not what
Didn't do this part
objectives,
for you today.
that's
Well,
not what objective design standards are all about in the context of what the county's pursuing. It's for ministerial projects to allow us to say, no, you can't have just your way to do things without putting mitigation measures in place. Because we have and the key word is objective. Again, they can't be very, very loosely worded. It has to be specific. And I can show you an example of that if you want to talk about mixed use housing. What Placer County did with mixed use housing is so objective. It's like 65 pages. So that is what objective is. It says, here's a defined requirement. It's not arbitrary.
65 pages, like an APAC report. So,
It's just about.
so, all right. So if there are no more questions about that, none online, no hands up, we're going to move ahead. Sorry, I got to drive for a minute. I'm going to throw this on the screen. It's that one. Here we go. Let's see. Okay. So we have standing committees for transportation and environmental, and Bill Jamaica's here tonight, and he's the chair of the transportation standing committee, and Bill has an update, and I'll just go through these slides and you tell me what to do or not to do. So there's the first one. So did you want me to do this real quick? Yeah. So committee members right now for transportation, Bill Jamaica, Jeff Lewis, John Reslier, Roger Bailey, who can't be here tonight, and Matt Talafiero. I never say it right. Is it close? Talafiero. Okay. So they've been working on transportation issues in close conjunction with the Department of Transportation and a little bit with the planning department. And, I just want to make sure everybody sees their names because they're not always up here. We don't produce a work product all the time with that. We don't want them to because they're volunteering. And we just want to appreciate the fact that these community members are doing this, with no great reward other than, they hope they're making a difference in what we're looking at. So, Bill, if you want to go ahead.
So I did want to start with what I consider to be very good news.
Go ahead, turn your screen, sorry.
I wanted to start with something I consider to be really great news. About 4 months ago, the traffic committee met. We had a special meeting with DOT on the US 50 El Dorado Hills Boulevard interchange because we had concerns.
A little louder.
Okay. We had specific concerns around the El Dorado Hills Boulevard US 50 interchange around safety and bicycle pedestrian especially. We met with the county, with DOT, and we provided them with a list. And we actually workshopped what our concerns were. We came up with a list of 6 specific things that we were recommending that they adjust their plan to accommodate. They agreed to do that. They modified their plan. They took it to Caltrans for approval. This is the 30% plan. So it's a preliminary. But we heard yesterday that Caltrans had approved that all of our things that we recommended were included, and the Caltrans had approved it so far. I think it's great in a couple of ways. One is these are important safety things. It's a dangerous intersection, especially for bicyclists and pedestrians. And second of all is the cooperative approach that we took with DOT, working together with them to come up with something that was workable and could make it through Caltrans process was a fundamental improvement. I think just in general, we're doing much better in communicating with DOT and planning. We've established those relationships, and with the support of Supervisor Hydall and Turnbull, we're making some real progress there and are making a difference and making things better. And I especially like to thank John and Jeff Lewis for their domain knowledge and passionate advocacy.
It's generous for John.
For John,
Yeah.
yeah.
I'll be quiet for a while.
I was hoping that would be the case. So while I'm the chair, I don't really do anything other than try to herd the cats. These are the guys that make things happen and cause the right things to happen with the county. So I just wanted to start with that. I love victories and I love progress.
Can I comment on it real quickly?
Sure.
Congratulations on your success in doing that. That's the reason APAC was formed many years ago, to shape projects, to comment from the boots on the ground people who know what the traffic patterns are, because Caltrans doesn't, DOT doesn't. We're all working together. We can collaboratively come up with improvements that are relatively easy to make, that make the safety aspects, the flow aspects of any given intersection or stretch of road much better. So thank you for all your efforts. This is what's needed.
And
Thank you.
I have to add to this.
Yeah.
I have to add to this. Add the 4 months that it took for you to get an answer. Add that to the 16 years I and the people in El Dorado Hills have been trying to have this intersection fixed. 16 years and 4 months, and it's still the same. So I would hope that we are on the right path now. I can't wait another 16 years. Thank you.
Let me just say that the intersection improvements were done in phases. So every phase we had an opportunity to comment on, and whether that was well received by Caltrans and DOT or not remains to be seen, but we're there in terms of, I think, influencing the net decision. And that's what's important.
So 16 years ago, I went with about 25 neighbors, half of the engineers from DOT. We went down to the same spot. We told them the same things. Here we are 16 years and 4 months later with a promise, not even a promise. They're saying, hey, you know, we kind of like what you said. Well, I want to see it built. Okay. It's time.
Yeah.
It's time.
So the rough schedule, as I understand it, is the 90% plans targeted for January. So that's when they start sending out bids, and they're hoping to start construction sometime in 2026.
Progress. Take it.
Progress. Okay. Next slide.
This one? Next one.
Yes, no, this is good.
Okay.
So as part of our process, we have a quarterly meeting with DOT and planning. The chair of the environmental committee and myself, Supervisor Turnbull is also there. Bob Williams is also there, and hopefully John Davey will
I
attend. in
didn't
the
get my
future.
invitation this time, but
You did,
I'm
okay.
on there now.
Okay, good. This is, again, an open forum type meeting that we have with the organizations where we have detailed and specific dialogue about things that are of interest to APAC. I found this, and I think the county finds it preferable to do it that way instead of handing them a 50-page report, to just talk about the issues, highlight what's important, see where we have differences, and then do official things if necessary to follow up. It streamlines the process quite a bit. So we had a meeting with them a few weeks ago. And this is the list of the things we talked about. The US 50 thing, I've already talked about. The gateway proposal, as was mentioned earlier, the parcel split part of that project was approved by the zoning commissioner today after the hearing. It was considered to be consistent with the current zoning and didn't require any further discussion by the planning commission. Not a big fan of that process, but I understand it, and that's where we are. The next step is for the developer is going to be proposing what he wants to do with the land that will require zoning changes, and it will go through the full discretionary process that John mentioned earlier. Generations at Green Valley, a traffic study was done for that project. I have a copy of that, but I don't know the area very well. So I have an ask today that if there's someone with more detailed knowledge of that area, if you could grab me after the meeting, I'd like to get you involved in the process because as John said, local eyes and ears are what really makes a difference. I don't have those. No one on the current traffic committee has those eyes and ears, and I need help on that. On Carson Crossing, this has been a tangential conversation to the Gateway project, as well as just in general. We received a letter from Director Martinez from DOT stating the intention to make it a heavy truck limited route with traffic mitigation on both ends of Carson Crossing, the southern part that currently exists. I think that's great progress. It's a letter stating intent. It's not a commitment. I don't think there's funding to do it, but I think it's an important development, especially in the context of the Gateway project. The target for getting that done is going to be spring. But again, there's no commitment. That's something that we'll keep monitoring. On the Creekside Wind Properties project, we had a conversation about incorporating into that project some traffic mitigation to the problem at Golden Foothill, Latrobe Road, and Robert J. Matthews. There are ongoing conversations between WIN, DOT, and Supervisor Turnbull. I think it's a great option, at least conceptually, to relieve a lot of the pressure in that area, and I'm rooting for them and hope to support them any way I can. Next actions. I've heard buzz that there are traffic issues around Saratoga Park. Again, not my neighborhood, not my area. Again, I'd like to ask for if anyone knows anyone or anyone has specific knowledge of that, if they could reach out.
I can help you. I can help you with that one.
Yeah, exactly.
Brooke.
Brooke knows more about it than probably anybody.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Brooke. Can we talk later?
Absolutely.
Okay, awesome. Okay, and the next quarterly meeting with DOT is set for 18 November. So if anything comes up between now and then.
I have that invitation. So.
Okay.
I would like to be included, particularly for the generations at Green Valley. We've come up with a number of opportunities, I think, to mitigate some of the impacts that are there. I've discussed those with DOT.
Okay.
I don't think you've been brought into that
I have not.
discussion. I haven't necessarily shared those with Supervisor Turnbow because we have our own district. So anything related to District 1, I'd like to be included in.
Okay.
If I could be, because we are starting some active discussions about what can be done. What's the possibility of making some improvements consistent with those projects? And so I think there's some things there that people should be engaged in.
Okay, so if we could hook up after.
Yes, absolutely. Yep.
And sync, that'd be great.
Yep. Thanks.
All right, thank you. All right, thanks, everyone.
Oh, and then again, I want to extend thanks to the members that participate in these standing committees because it's not something we do every month. If we have an update, we give an update like this. If we don't have an update, we just say, hey, they're still working. So thank you for that. So with that, and move along. Now I'll turn to Josh, who's fiercely making notes. So tonight, we're going to be hearing from the applicants for the Town and Country Village El Dorado. They have been, and I forgot, I can't count how many times. I know we talked about this the other day, but 6, 7, 8, I can't keep
think,
track.
I think we're at, 7 or
Seven
8.
is
This
my
may be 8.
recollection, yeah.
So I'm gonna go ahead and stop the share on this. I'm gonna throw up yours, and we're hoping that that controller you have will,
And I just want to state that this project has been the best example of outreach to the community in terms of informing people, inviting people to discussions, collecting information. In my opinion, it sets the example of what most projects should be, right? So kudos to their staff and stuff for all that extra effort. Doesn't come easy, but there's a full accounting of all of the work that it took and all the meetings that have been held to lead to this point. So it's not an easy task, but they performed it probably better than any other project I've seen. So we'll leave it at that.
oh, you have the controller?
I think Michael has it, yeah.
Okay, let's see how we do.
Well, thank you, John. Thank you, members, and everyone who's here and online. I'm Josh Pane for the Mahana family, the owners of this 60 acres. Want to just start the location. You can see, for those who aren't familiar, maybe online or in the audience, is Bass Lake Road, Highway 50. Why don't you zero in on that, Michael, and you can get a better look between Cameron Park,
Okay.
El Dorado Hills.
Hold on, let me make sure I got it. Why don't you give it a try there? Want me to advance it then, if it's not going? Go ahead. There you go.
So it gives you a real sense where it is. This is the 60 acres. We'll go next to the next one, Michael. And this was the original project back in 2020, 2021, the J6 application that the county requested us to do. This shows 80 acres. And then the Asha families up on the upper right-hand side with the little pink above the triangle and that yellow decided they're still thinking about what is possible there and what they would like to do. You'll see that they phase out as we move toward the application that's before the Planning Commission coming up October 31st. And don't forget, September 9th is the final day for public comment for the draft EIR to get your comments in. So any comments should be done by September 9th. This is not an official comment meeting. So whatever you say here, you should send to an email to the county. This is just informational. It's one of our many meetings. So go ahead, Michael. So then that square over on the side goes away as the families there, the many in El Dorado Hills. And then we're down to 60 acres. This was, we're still going through the J6 application from 5 years ago. And then it got down to this next area that you'll see, the yellow and the pink, is what we call the program study area in this project EIR. The attorneys, the county, the planners said, you have to think of something there. So we put a variety of things in there. They said, think of what your wildest imagination is and put it in there. The Mahana family first just wanted to do the project that you'll see in a moment. So phasing out that, Michael, then you'll see that going away. Now we're down to the project itself. The hotel project is down here. That's 2 hotels, 150 rooms apiece on both sides of the Oak Grove. The Oak Grove is kind of the center crown jewel. It's an acre plus. It will be the focus of all that goes on at the resort. Below each of the hotels is small boutique retail as small as 800 square feet, because we've seen in El Dorado County, there's a real need for that small boutique retail, not only to serve the people in the hotels, but the families, the 60,000 families that live along this north side of the highway. And then up above in the yellow is the drainage area, the seasonal drainage. And then we have cottages up there. We have 2 villages. One is 56 unit cottages, and that's a deed restricted housing for the staff of the hotels, the restaurants that are there down below, the 2 restaurants, and then The reception hall seats about 350, and it'll open onto the Oak Grove. So now we go into the project itself. You can see the details that I just kind of roughly described. And let me say, before we go further, I want to give you that short background because it's been a while to get to this point. And we want to make sure that people know that, you know, we studied it. The Mahana family has been studying this for 30 years since they bought these properties, 45 on the ranch side. They have properties on the other side. And they looked at things and they saw it and they saw what the history was of this place. And they really focused their attention on that. So I wanted to give you the overall vision 5 years ago. And then narrowed it down to this. Now we go down to the resort piece down below, and you'll see up close and the two hotels on both sides. And the advantage we have of the Oak Grove in the middle, a swimming pool there. The advantage we have is that the Oak Grove is this 1.25 acres, just a little over an acre. And it's 22 feet lower than its base. So the roadways are all down here, down below 22 feet down. And then the first floors are down there. The restaurants are down there. The shops are down there. And then you go up one floor and you'll walk right into the Oak Grove from all three of these buildings. So you'll see, I'm more of a hands-on type guy than this. That, let me just go over it. That is this is the event reception center. So that has the museum on the 3rd floor. It has this reception hall that walks right into the Oak Grove, and then our 2 restaurants down below. And then the hotels are in a chevron style, because when we walked it and saw it, we said, okay, we can tuck these hotels just outside, 5 feet outside the drip line, and be very comfortable to then bridge over into the beautiful Oak Grove as the public space, not only for the hotels and the reception and the museum, but also for the public. And the bikeway that we've proposed along there, I'll get to in a minute. So that gives you an idea. We have a historic trail going from this side all the way through here. Not quite sure where it is. The archaeologist in our mitigation, we basically said, hey, we'll work with the archaeologist, try to find the alignment. And then we said, we may have to move parking, and we may have to move something and reconfigure, but we'll do it. And so the archaeologist that the county hired said, okay, that's a good idea. We'll move from there. Yeah, so that's the overall. I think I hit just about everything. I wanted to try to get this in a nice presentation. So going up, I'll say on the old trail down here, Michael, go back to that if you can. I'm sorry. We have our entry here and exit there. During all of this process, we listened to just about everybody and anybody. We had this is a secondary entrance, and Caltrans DOT said, you know what, you really should move that entrance up here. So we have that now as an emergency entrance. You'll see in iterations that are now there. So this will be an emergency ingress and egress. This property owner will still have access to here. The bike trail stops here, but we'll have emergency access there. Every step of the way, what we've tried to do from the beginning, when John said to me, hey, Josh, don't forget about connectivity of bicycles. I'll show you some of that connectivity that we thought through. I was out on the trail today with the gentleman who does the high school mountain bike team and showed the connectivity. So let's go on, Michael. I think that gives a good sense of that. Now, these are the 2 villages. We have first, this village will be staff village, and then this will be the hotels village. But I want to say something here. So 56 cottages for staff who will work anywhere in the resort, the restaurants, the hotels, the shops. And this was one of the first things that the supervisor said to us as we met. We talked about this. He said, well, he brought us one sheet of paper And that was 4 different charts on one sheet. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And he gave it to us. He said, now here's our housing need. And we looked at it, we said, okay, this makes sense. The county has a housing need, they commit. So when we thought of, I don't know, 80, 90 employees this will employ, we said, we've got to do something in that way. And so we smartly designed these. The Mahanas have smartly designed other small units, and they're just a raving success. Well, we smartly designed these for 2 stories with a loft, these little cottages here, and you'll see a rendering of that as well. Then on this village, has anyone
So
ever
this is
been-
what the county refers to as workforce housing, if you don't understand
Yeah.
it.
I-
Local to where the work is, right? That's what we're going for.
Ultimately, you don't want, you're a hotelier, you're Hyatt or you're the HIG group, 135 million members. You want your employees nearby. You don't want them driving in 100-degree heat. Mahana always says this, hey, Josh, coming up a hill in 105-degree heat in a car, come on, get them right here. So that's the employee village. This is the hotel. Anyone been to Silverado Country Club? Silverado has units that are cottages, and they have some that are 2-story, look more like apartments. But those are sold items. And when the person isn't living there, they give it to the hotel and the hotel runs it. And so you want to come in. We have a lot of people. Jean Tagnati, she just moved back with her family to Idaho, but she really wants to be here during the winter. And she has 10 acres up there. She's a neighbor. She's been very supportive, as all the neighbors have. As Steve has been supportive as he moved in. All the neighbors around us are supporting the concept. Every neighbor surrounding the project. So that concept works for people who may want to sell, as Jean thought about, well, I think I'm going to go move with my kids. And she says, but I'd still like a little cottage to come home to in winter. She doesn't like the snow, obviously. So that's what that is. So we'll refine that as we go past the first subdivision, the tentative, and then we'll go to the final. So that gives you 56 units there, 56 units there. It's on this beautiful drainage. It's a seasonal drainage. And with any luck, with a 404 permit, we might be able to get running water constantly going there, either on one end or on the other end or all the way through. So we'll see. That's a whole nother, as George is looking at me saying, that is a feat. You can do that, Josh. You're working miracles. But it's a beautiful place, backyard, front yard for the staff of the village. They have 3,000 feet to walk or bike or electric bike. And the beautiful piece for the hotels as well, and an ownership option and possibility. We haven't come to a conclusion on the ownership side, but we've structured it so that we could do that. Okay, Michael, I think I'm going too slow. Okay, here's just, let's zoom in. This will give you a little bit on the landscape side, some of the signage side, some of the cottage side. We've taken a very close care on the oaks. There's one, this oak, our arborist that we hired said, it may have maybe 20 years left, but it's 80, 90 years old already. But the rest are in pristine condition. So we're making fire breaks. They've been there a long time, but we don't want any fire going. We'll have to, I think this is where the old trail will come through, somewhere in here, to get across this proposed bridge here, this pedestrian equestrian bike bridge, to get us over on this side, over to the park and ride lot here. So this may have to reconfigure a little bit, because we committed in the EIR that we would mitigate that somehow. So that's gives you a little sense of the landscape plan. Go ahead, Michael, let's go closer. And so this will give you a better view. This gives a view walking between the West Hotel and the reception restaurants. So this will be the view going up the stairs and the walkway, the handicap walkway for ADA compliance, getting up to the top, this waterway, up to that level. You can see the nature of this 20 feet all the way up to that grove. And it's a perfect opportunity. And so this gives you the kind of the mass. You know, the materials, as we studied the Awani Hotel from 1927, coming up on its 100th birthday, we studied the rocks, we studied the timber, and we studied the poured-in-place concrete. A lot of people think that's wood too, but it's actually poured-in-place concrete. So we've studied that and we've designed it for that in mind. So that's the view going up into the oak grove in the middle. Okay, now this is the view of the, as I said, the porte cocheres are down below, the restaurants, one on each side. This is the reception overlooking the freeway this way. Then there'll be windows the same way overlooking the oak grove. And then there'll be space on the museum. It won't just be a static museum. This will be a museum that'll have life. We'll be doing things in it, and the community will be doing things in it. I want to say something about Kathy, who died 2 years ago. She was, in her view, as we talked, Prevost, yeah. And she said, you know, we need someplace, and it probably wouldn't be the 350 seated room, but it'll be something like the museum. She said, our canine association meets, we have to go to the fire station, and that's, you know, okay, but we'd like to have food service, and we'd like to have other things. So that's the thing we were thinking as we started designing this. And so it's exciting. Kathy died, what, 2 years ago now?
August 14th, yes.
August 4th, God, it's been, yeah. So it's, but that's the input we took from the community. This gives you a view coming off of Highway 50. And this, we have 7 photo simulations above the 3 that are required in the specific plan. And so you'll see that in the draft EIR. This is one of them looking westbound. This is just a bird's eye view. You won't see it because it's way too high. You'll see one of our photo simulations is right here. You'll see that in the EIR. So that's the overall, you know, the irony is there's plenty of rocks out there, as we all know, and there's plenty of timber in the hills just not too far away. So it makes sense that we picked an Awani-esque as our vision. This is looking north from Bass Lake Road at Highway 50. It's a real close-up of it, so you can get a sense of it, the wood detail and the big rock. These are down in where the kids hopefully are going to play when the employees, the staff of the village, the staff village, that's their front yard and their backyard. And they'll be walking hiking trails along there. This was our inspiration for that. I didn't do it. Ours didn't do, I don't think, justice to that. That has such a feel. We're still working on that view. That's the actual architectural view. But this, it has that character. You can see that we're on a slope. And so what we do is we're going to do perimeter foundations. So we have an opportunity to tuck right in. And when you have decks on the outside, deck on this side, Mr. Mahana's vision is, well, you can expand your small space and sit outside and have beautiful outdoor space. That's a vision. Simple, it works. So it works right here. This is westbound. This is one of our photo simulations. We've zeroed in on it, but you'll see it from farther back. But that's our inspiration. Notice the loft space as well. We think that a couple could be very comfortable here. have beautiful space outdoors, a bedroom here, and then a loft for 1 or 2 children. It's just perfect. So it's 2.5 floors basically. And just the right size for somebody who's starting out. I had this conversation with Lori Parlin, and I said, Lori, when I started out at 25 years old, my sister and I rented a 1-bedroom, 650 feet. She got the bedroom, I got the front room. We found an old couch on the sidewalk. I can send you a picture of me and my sister on that couch, and that was it. The fact is, we've gone way overboard this idea that every person needs a 2-bedroom, 2-bath place that's 1,200 feet or 800 feet. It's not so, and we're going to show you how it's not so and what we're going to do for both staff and for a beautiful casita like at Dorado Country Club. Now, this is the overall, you'll see in the draft EIR, this is the proposed project as we have it proposed, those pieces that you saw. You'll see the 300 units for the hotels. You'll see the 112 residential units, and then we have a CUP in our proposal, a conditional use permit, to use 56 of those as hotel rental cottages. So we're asking for permission of that. And then we have total building area, when you count it all up, is 181,000 feet. Remember, we have the retail in there as well. The open space, you can see that this is right in the EIR. Now, this is the area that I showed you that we took, and we had to study something from the consultant or environmental consultant or land use attorney or land use planner, Charles Torrance and Craig Sambert. Everyone said, no, you have to put something in there. Otherwise, under CEQA, you'll be in violation of something the next time you want to do something there. And that's that big swath of area that we can show you again. And so we went through and looked at townhomes. They call it multi-residential in the county, but townhomes, 352, commercial properties. We did senior housing in there, 150 units, and 200 apartment units. Mr. Mahana, for 30 years, has had this vision of a village, and you would have shops, you would have some services, and then you would have apartments above. A village like Placerville, basically, 2 and 3 stories, some on the ends or in the middle, 4 stories, just like Placerville. So we are studying that. That's not the project right now, but we're asking for the zoning on it. And then at a later date, we would have to come back with a complete planned unit, what we call a planned development, a PD, and look at all the details. Okay, anything else, Michael? What else do we have here? Bikeways. So early on, as I said, I was out with Mark this afternoon looking at the connectivity on both sides on the Cameron Park side. Michael, do we have one that zooms in, or? Yeah, this gives you a good idea. So I rode today with Mark from Faith Episcopal right there over through the project right here, down and around all the way through here, came up over here. Then we're trying to talk to Caltrans about getting through under the underpass. I talked to some folks about it. I think if any one thing has been said to us, it's been try the connectivity. Remember the connectivity. You have a real opportunity. There's raw land here. Get your trails in. We think it's important. And then that's why we want to continue to promote, find grant funding for this bike, hike, equestrian, bridge, little. And once we get through here, and I've had some good meetings, once we get here, this is all off-road basically. And once we get through here, we get to the south and it goes to the district church bike. They have a little bike, pretty big bike place there. and then it gets you over to town center right here. So you've got terrific connectivity, hiking, biking, equestrian if you're gonna go that far, but there's definitely equestrian in the plan area. So it gives you a sense of the whole. Michael, could you go back to that, our bike slide though? So we proposed, as is in the specific plan, to dedicate a bike trail along here. And the county already has a little piece right here. See this? Mahanas had given this back in the 2000s. And that was supposed to be that connectivity. Our engineer, Dave Crisaro from CTA, helped design that. Is Dave still here? Or is he? Yeah. Hey, Dave. And that was given years ago. And that little chunk is a piece that we hope to use to make this connection. But we think this bike bridge is absolutely critical. Then we have existing, we have these class 2. This bike route was just finished to here. And this one, we had proposed to abandon that so people could come just up here and around. I'm not a big one on 50-mile-an-hour traffic on my bicycle. No family is going to go there. But the DOT imposed and said, you know what, you really should leave that right where it is. And we left it there. So these are some of the changes that we've done. But very exciting. And then these are the green ones are trails going through the project. Haven't shown all the connectivity to the old wagon trail. And frankly, the archaeologist, we've studied this, but it could be that the old trail went up here. Then you see this little piece right there. That still is a right of way, and the road used to come down like that. So we're looking at old maps, and he's going to get out there with his equipment and make some determination. So that's an exciting piece, the bike, the hike. That's the connectivity side. You can see, and I should mention the new bike park, 10-acre bike park that the Community Service District approved late last year. We've been working with the Community Service District, but also Jeff over there and the new GM, but also the bicyclists that helped do that. I would like to also hope that this little park area in here, right here past the ASHA group, there's another triangle park that Tom Wynn and they had dedicated. So it's there. Community Service District is looking at it. John?
So that's supposed to be dedicated to Holy Trinity School as a field for the school.
Yeah, there's two actually. One is this is the field that they're still dedicating, and Holy Trinity is still dealing with them on, but they dedicated this triangle to the Community Service District. Father Larry, when I talked to Father Larry about it, he wasn't sure what they were going to do at that point, and the council hadn't met on it, but they definitely are filling it up and make it flat for a field.
They're filling it in.
Church.
That won't have anything to do with your project.
No. But that's another piece out there, and we've shown it in a couple different ones. So that's exciting. The exciting part, if we could do something in there with multi-use, and then you would have the plan, the specific plan calls for 10 parking spaces over here at this side, 100 in here, 100 in the park and ride that's up now here, and another 100 spaces there as well. So go ahead, Michael, and we'll.
Josh, you have a photo or figure that talks about connectivity at Country Club Drive along there, the alternatives and stuff, because a lot of people are curious about how are we going to connect Bass Lake Road to Silver Valley?
Yeah.
Where's it going to go next to the school, Oak Meadow School down there, et cetera, et cetera. And I know DOT, working with you, has looked at several alternatives, but do you think there's a preferred configuration at this point that people could look at and understand what that's going to be separate from the trail system?
Well, a big piece of it, the biggest problem was when they designed the country club, they designed it to come over here.
Right.
And then take this piece of the old Lincoln Highway out.
But that's just kind of a line on the map. Is what I
Yeah,
understand.
and
So
Raphael said it here,
right.
he said it here one night, it's just a line on the map. Mr. Mahana is an honorary member of the National Association of Lincoln Highway. So we've gotten many of the neighbors say, we don't want to take that out. And let's see what other alternative we can
Right.
provide. So we've provided a couple different concepts. A lot of it goes through the Mahana Ranch,
Okay.
which is on this side. And so we've looked at alternatives that go here. And we've looked at alternatives going here. NOAA had looked at an alternative going along the highway here.
Okay.
And in fact, the department, DOT, had all three of those
Fine
concepts.
already, yeah, yeah.
I think they just drew it on the map and said, okay, there it is.
I was gonna say, instead of a bridge across Bass Lake, you can go under Bass Lake. You can build a tunnel. It would be a lot cheaper. And you wouldn't have that problem of having a bridge.
Yeah, had we been talking 5, 6 years ago when they were digging, but now it's dug and we're 28 feet higher. We're that high, 28 feet on this side, and the other side is 12, 14 feet on that side. So they dug it out. So yeah, you're right, John, had they talked about it. Now there's another piece, Bass Lake Road. In the EIR, it looks like we need to put in another lane on both sides here, or it's in the CIP. So we're working on that in our piece to the
So
board.
tunnels are cheaper, but they create public safety issues?
I know
And
that.
that's the
I
overriding
realize that.
consideration,
I
right?
realize that. But if
Various
they're
things
well,
happen in tunnels.
if they're well lit and they're not a long tunnel, there's no safety
You're
issue.
talking about lighting in a tunnel, yes.
Let's
Oh,
go
yeah.
back to the other one. Yeah, over. But I will say, since we're on Bass Lake Road and the Country Club alignment to get Country Club from here to
Right.
here,
Yes.
I helped the family negotiate this piece of Country Club.
Yep.
And family was more than happy in the end, so that these homes, and I've told people this, when Tom and George and Lennar did that, people have asked me, well, oh, there's so much traffic, oh, there's so much. And I said, well, do you use Country Club Drive, this Country Club? Oh, yeah. I said, you like that, right? Oh, I love it. You go from Bar J and over there, and my daughter who lives over on Kemper, they do it. Well, the fact is, who had to front the money?
The developers, yeah. For those projects.
Those homes. Those homes had to front the money. And in some way, George will tell you, well, we actually had to front it, Josh, and we get paid back as people start building in the plan. So I think once people understand that now, and I've told folks when we walked, Tyler and I have walked over in Cameron Park, I've told folks this next connection, this next what they call parallel capacity to the highway to get you over to Silva Valley is going to be the same way. It's going to be a combination of DOT and their budgeting and their forecasting, and it's going to be folks who are going to develop in here and over in here. So everyone, it's what they call fair share, but it goes on the homes. That George could probably tell you to the penny how much that cost, $8 or $10 million, and that is one of the fundamental reasons of the cost of homes. So we got to get more innovative if we're going to do this. We're going to keep doing this because people just can't afford, and it just can't go on with such high cost. But you've got beautiful homes up there. So now the next thing, talking about a tunnel, this section is in the CIP, but it's down the road. And then it was in the CIP so long, it dropped out of the CIP. Nobody did it, just by their formula, DOT tells me, it just drops out. If you don't do a project within, 15 or 18 years, 20 years, it just kind of, so everyone, I was saying, why did you drop that out? He said, well, we didn't do it, it's just the formula did it. But it still needs to be done. I told DOT last week, I said, we should all participate. Mr. Mahana is constantly saying, John, everybody pays their fair share. We all have a share in this, we should all pay it. And it's just problematic because a lot of these properties haven't developed, and that's what's going to pay back the 10 million on the country club connection. It's going to build the next connection. So parallel capacity could come out of CIP and not charge everybody. So, but speaking of a tunnel, there's a low spot, as you know, right here, right here.
For the water.
Yeah. And, you know, our vision is that should be a tunnel. That should, like at Sac State, if you've ever been to Sac State on the right-hand side, huge, huge culvert and bikes, hikes, deer, bobcats, everybody can go through it.
Yeah.
Skunks.
That's skunks too, and the rattlesnakes. You gotta be careful of them. But, so that's on the program to be done, but it's not on the CIP anymore. So we all have to get it back on the CIP, and I told DOT this somehow. Even if we have to all chip in a little bit, everybody pay a little fair share, that's gonna do something more. But right now, they just have two 10-foot box culverts. And, you know, on one side and then the other side, and then they have a, you know, so it's not, it isn't like, you know, this huge, beautiful, zoom, you're through. Because we really think that ultimately the plan with the 50-foot buffer along both sides of that road and along Country Club, that's where the connectivity will come on the hiking and some of the mountain biking and some of the E things that can go on. In the plan, it calls for a 50-foot buffer all along here. And then I think, I can't remember along Country Club, I think that as well. Dave, you remember that if it's along Country Club or just on Bass Lake Road? Just on Bass Lake. So the idea was to get people moving safely off the road on a little trail. And we do have trails along in here too. So that is, we better keep going, Michael. I'm meandering too long. So our inspiration, and you'll notice we're not, you know, we're pretty straightforward. We just copied this design. This is the back of the Ahwahnee. If you ever been to the, this is the fireplace room, and then the next one is the big room. And so yeah, this is an octagon. There's a bigger octagon, and then this is a rectangle that goes back to the tea room. And that's my most favorite place to have breakfast is there. The interior, it's a grand, beautiful, Persian carpets, by the way. We have a whole history of that. A guy named Pope and his wife were just enthralled with Persia and traveled to Persia. They brought back carpets, and he was the interior designer. It's a fabulous history. Okay, Michael. So this is our inspiration. Is that it, Michael? That's beautiful. Mr. Mahana, we like to adapt things, adapt the Ahwahnee. This is an adaptation from the San Francisco Asian Art Museum. They have this long scroll that Mr. Mahana found, and he said, okay, we can do that for the Lincoln Highway through El Dorado County, the whole way through. And then highlight a couple of the key places along the highway and what was going on in 1914, 1919. We did the 100th anniversary of the troops crossing in 1919. So it's a beautiful display, but it'll be you know, multi-purpose space. People can go and the community can go and enjoy it. Okay.
If you make it a meeting room.
Yeah, it's 7,000 feet.
No meeting rooms here.
7,000 feet. It can be the civic place. It can be the place. Our hotel developer is Roger Hume. He built La Borgata. If anyone's been to La Borgata, and he had the restaurant there as well. Yeah, and so he's our partner on the hotel side. And he did that downtown, that old Eastern Star. Now he's working on a 7th and J, the 1915 Bank. Do we have one of those in here? 1915 Capital Bank, Capital National Bank, 7-story there. So yeah, and then the overview again. I think we should color all of that as it is now. In the summer, in the winter, it's nice. Gives you a little closer view. Michael, our team. So from Torrance Planning, Charles is here, CTA, the oldest engineering firm in the area that has done a lot of this. Dave Rosario, HRG Architects, Furman, he's done all of Serrano, and he's retiring. He just sent us a letter that he's retiring, but his group is going to continue. Craig Sandberg, Youngdall Group, Hume, EPS on the economics side. I haven't talked about that. It's about 2.3 million in TOT tax. Cal, that's trees. That's our arborist, and he's done a fabulous job. Beautiful florist, not florist. Flourish is her name, but she has native plants, and she's a wonderful designer. We used early on. Jen Lee out of New York and San Luis Obispo, fabulous designer. He's responsible with our top designer, Mr. Mahana, on all of this stuff. Madrone, Beer Camp has been very instrumental. The sewer study and the other, our lighting consultant. American River Conservancy, we've been collaborating with to find anything we can do on the historic trail down there, to see if they can be a part. Rainey is the consultant for the EIR. Madrone is the consultant for the county. Historic Resources, Dana Supernovitz has been wonderful as an archaeologist out there. Tom Keir, Professor Keir on the traffic study the county hired. He's been wonderful. It's done most of the traffic up here. The acoustics, Sanjero on our water study. So I think that's everybody. And Charles is here, Torrance, and Craig is here, and our team members. And I want to just thank everybody again. Let's go back to the most beautiful slide. Not that these guys aren't beautiful, Michael, but I want to thank everybody. I want to thank the community. You know, we have so much support, and we've walked door to door in Cameron Park, those areas that we've walked. We've met people. We've met Linda and Guy Seymour. They've been a great inspiration and source. You know, when you walk to somebody's door and you talk about this, and she says, I've heard about this project. I said, where'd you hear? Well, I've heard. And come in, I want to talk to you. And before you know it, I love this project. I said, I love you. You know, what's not to love? And that's door-to-door work to John Albano and Peter. When you guys have come and seen it, when the bicyclists, Steve, our neighbor, the Rodriguez's, at the last meeting, we had a fabulous meeting 2 Thursdays ago, the first public comment period for the draft EIR on the 22nd. It was fabulous. We had some good turnout there. So yeah, we've been through it a long time, and we're still going through it. We're still looking for advice. We're still changing things. You know, in the NOP, we changed the bridge into the project area. Linda said, why don't you study the bridge now? So we've studied it. It's in our EIR. We've changed the traffic down below, as I said, a variety of things. People have said, why don't you look at this? Why don't you look at connectivity? We've amplified some of those things. So we're very happy. September 9th is the last day. Yeah, John.
How tall are your buildings?
You know, they're between 56 and 60.
Does that make the requirement for the county? 60 is too high.
Yeah, and we asked for a variance on that because we're not sure when you get from down here, this level up here, as I said, 22 feet, the base. So when you go from here to here, there's a formula Charles has taught me, land planner, that how do you do it, Charles? Slope, a cross section, and then you average it. So we think it's about 56, which comports itself with the county's requirement, but it could be over. So we've asked for a variance on,
variance on that?
no, we're proposing
Oh,
it.
you're-
Yeah,
okay, that's for the
yeah,
variance.
and that's one of the pieces in the EIR.
But the fire department's gonna have the primary say with a 100-foot, truck, ladder truck.
On a slope.
Yeah, on a slope and stuff, there should be no issue with that. I presume you've
We've,
met with
we've
them.
met with them,
And they're
yeah.
saying that fire safety is fine. It's gonna be fully sprinklered, so. The elevation restrictions came from a long time ago in the county aspect of things. We know there was a general plan amendment for township apartments. So there's been things that have to be considered as exceptions, right?
That's what I'm talking about, town center. There was a big controversy over line of sight. When you looked at the building, did it look like it was higher than 56 feet? And you're going to have the same problem here because you're looking up.
Yeah.
You know, is it gonna look like it's 60-something feet high? You know, and that be, it just might stand out to be so big that it won't fit in. I don't know.
Yeah, you know, you can see the oaks. Somehow our engineers know how high these oaks are. So we don't come above the oaks that are there.
Right. It's gonna be visible from.
Oh, yeah, the oaks still peak above and they'll keep growing. We've had some question on the hill from folks up there. Can we see this at the? And I said, if you can't see the top of these trees, and I've gone up to some homes and looked down, and the difference is this is 1,100 feet and that's 1,469 up there. And so the way the terrain goes, you actually have to get all the way at this location on Country Club, looking down to see those buildings. You're not going to avoid them from the freeway. Now, it's not going to look like that. When you see our photo simulation from Bass Lake Road off-ramp, which is one of the 3 required in the plan, you'll just see, because that road is there, you'll just see the tops of these. If you get in the fast lane, you don't see anything because that divider in the middle of the safety has gone double. If you get in the middle lane, you'll see about here because I can judge it by the trees. And then if you get all the way over, you'll just see the very tops of the building as you get off the freeway on the views of it all. So, but that is the board is going to have to come to a decision that is one of the pieces that they would override and say, yeah, you will be able to see it from the highway. Funny thing about CEQA is private views don't count. So if you have a home and it's blocking your home, that private view doesn't count, but the public view counts.
You have to invite the public to your house.
That works too, yeah.
Yeah. So that
So
gives
Josh,
you,
did
yeah.
you want to mention the El Dorado County Winery Association?
Oh,
Because
yeah.
I think you've been working with them. And I see that as a huge opportunity to make sure that the visitors here recognize the economy of El Dorado County and visit our wineries.
Yeah, you know, we had, that was one of the first things besides housing. John said, hey, so talk to the winery. He gave us a list of people. Talk to all these people. People who are against development, people who are for development, people who don't care, but the economic side. Apple Hill, the Winery Association. We just did an economic forum for the Greater Sacramento Economic Council at the Grove, at the Oak Grove. And we had boxes for the people who came from all over of everything from, King's Meats sauce, if you know where King's Meat is, to Grizzly Den barbecue. In the box, we had also, the Mahanas did a very special thing. They have roses on the ranch and they did a first rose water. If you've never had rose water, talk to me. Little thing of rose water. And it's delicious for ice cream. It's delicious for spray. But in that, we showcased El Dorado County because we think that those shops that people here are going to want to come and wine taste, and the beer we used Boring Rose over in the new brewery over in Town Center. we want to display those in these smaller shops. 800 feet would be the smallest. We could divide it even smaller. The Mahanas believe in small retailers like that. And that'll be a draw for the hotel, for the restaurants, for the visitors, for the museum. But it'll also be for everyone coming in here. One thing, as you know, we get a lot of comments, but I was at my daughter's house in Cameron Park and barbecue, and her friends were all there. And one of them, they all have these little babies. We have 2 granddaughters. And this one came up to me and said, okay, now, what are you having for the kids? I said, the kids? She said, well, yeah, the kids. Are you going to do something like Moonrakers has done?
Play structure or something.
And I said, well, yeah. That night, Mr. Mahana got on it and he found these natural, huge logs, old wood pieces of it, and carved out where kids can climb through it. And so we already started designing it. So we take it very personal and very, very serious when people give us comments and give us suggestions. We hadn't thought of kids running around the Oak Grove for some reason, but yeah. So that's overall it. It's a lot. It took a little more time than I thought, but would be happy to answer any questions about the draft. I kind of peppered it through there, but September 9th is the final day. Yeah.
This drawing, you can see how all the traffic gets there from 50.
Yeah.
You know, there's always good egress, you know, from other roads going northbound. How does it get back?
Yeah, we have a circulation road up to the top oak. On the very top of the hill is a lone oak, and we go to that and then get onto Country Club.
So I'm going to remind everybody, we are opening up for public questions. We have 1 microphone. Linda's going to lead the way. And Josh, if you stay on that microphone, everyone online can hear you. So I hope you're ready. I know everybody else is ready. Go ahead, Linda.
Alrighty. Linda Campbell, El Dorado Hills. So first know that I am reviewing the draft EIR and I'll have input on that. So these are specific to this meeting. First, I'll say requests have been submitted to planning, and personally, I have done it twice to the Board of Supervisors, asking for a 15-day extension to the draft EIR review. So it's 60 days as allowed by CEQA. That would afford the public more time to review over 2,000 pages of EIR and appendices. Will you approve this request?
Well, we had a meeting on this specifically, and we suggested that the time frame that we've put in so far from the J6 hearing and that 2-year process of the exact same thing that we're proposing, and then the last 3 years on this specific project, that we felt that 45 days was plenty of time, and that's the law. We're going to stick with that. We also provide for anyone who would like it, 9 pages of our public outreach on this project and 3 pages of our public outreach, because we wanted to make sure that people understood. People may just come in to the meeting tonight and not have been in the last 7 meetings. And so, yeah, we wanted to make sure. And at each of our meetings we have had, as we have tonight, every chapter, some people have concerns about the oak. So we have the oak chapter. We brought it out. We've looked at it, talked about it, see the impact to the oaks down the alternative sewer lines. So, yeah, we think we're in good shape, and we feel very happy with what we've done with our public outreach.
So you mentioned, of course, EID and the water line. I want to bring that up because I haven't seen anything specific to the cost associated with that. And typically EID costs are paid by us, the consumers. Hence the reason why our EID charges were just increased. So this would contribute to that as well. Ultimately, what are the total costs to the community for the project? Is there some form of financial impact report? For the workforce housing, will those cottages be rentals or purchases? Last time that I was here in the NOP meeting, we talked about it. They were talked about for purchase. If it is a purchase, what's the estimated cost for those? Because last time it was like 700,000.
Okay, let me first address the water. This is our water exhibit. We've had it at every one of our meetings for a long time now. This is probably the best. Sorry, you guys. So the water, years ago, as Charles has instructed me, comes from these two tanks that exist. And there's a line that comes here, and our project will have to put in a line here, all the way over here to loop up with what Tom Wynn and George did over here to make that pressure connection. And then we feed the project itself, both the cottages, both cottages, villages. The cost of our water study is about $45,000 from Zanjero. And that showed that, and the board, the EID, took a vote to approve that study in October of last year. So the board had a public hearing, EID, they reviewed the actual water study. And the water study clearly states that there's enough water that EID has to purvey to the project. And they have capacity, and I could go through the water study with you, but that's, so none of that goes on the ratepayers though. That's all based on a couple things. The cottages, those will have water meters that we'll have to pay for, as well as the water connection from here and here. That'll all be on the project itself.
Right.
So there won't be any cost to the ratepayers whatsoever to the project. We have to pay our own way, and then our own way to service the hotels and the other. So that's and I'd be happy to go through the water study with you.
I know. So just last thing, I want to highlight the program study area, because again, it was brought up and I brought that up
Great, thank you.
before. It's actually not included in the visual presentation. So this is only a portion actually of what you're looking at developing.
Michael, why don't you pull
So there's
that
going to
up?
be more. And some of that includes 702 new dwelling units. So I just want to highlight that. And then just a reminder, the NOP, I brought up Highway 50 issues and the current challenges that we have. Just as a reminder, inside, if in fact there's some expansion required for Highway 50, that has to go through voter approval. So.
Yeah. Okay. Back, Linda, on your question on the cottages, as I described, and maybe they'll pull it back up. There's two sets of villages. One is for the staff. That's a rental village for staff of the resort. And that'll be deed restricted, as I'm sure the board will request, and we're proposing. The second piece, okay, here we get some of it. The second piece on the for sale, we haven't come to a conclusion on that. As I said, they're going to be, we're going to design it so that we could do like San Ysidro in Santa Barbara County and Silverado Country Club. But we haven't come to a complete decision on that yet. It'll be a matter of how much it costs to build, and then how much is the overall unit. So I can't tell you on that. The last you talked about, what wasn't there? It's there. I went over the chart with you. Let's go back to the chart, Michael.
No, I did say that it's there in the documentation, you brought it up, but it's not in any of the visuals, so it's just not.
Yeah, we couldn't bring all the visuals, but
An understanding so that people know that there's more to come.
yeah, and as I.
I know exactly what that is yet.
Yeah, go back to that visual. We do have this board somewhere, I think, that we've brought in other meetings, and you can see it at the ranch. No, keep going. Yeah, going back. So I think it's the board. When you find it, Michael, it's the chart that I went over. Yeah, as I said, the Mahanas were very happy with just the project that you see right now. But everyone and everybody said, no, you've got to plan that out, because under CEQA, under the law, apparently, they can stop you completely if you leave a whole section of your land out. They can just simply, what's it called, you guys? Who's the attorney? What's it called? Serenium project or a series, segmenting a project, segmentation, and you can't do it. So we said, okay, what's the next best thing? Well, and the environmental consultant said, put your wildest imagination there. And that's what we've done. That's what I described here in the program study area. As I said, the 352 allocated for townhomes in that area. And I could show you on the area, the 350 units that are the 150 senior units and 200 apartment units. Mahana, as I mentioned, has had this village vision of shops and space below on a village like, you know, a small version of how Placerville grew. I think the hardest part is figuring out how you really do that so it makes it feel like that small village. And then the other is the commercial space, the 90,000 commercial space under those 200 apartment units. So we said that would be our grandest vision if that ever comes. Some have said, well, you know, that piece, we're still going to have to come back and do a whole design on that and a whole community on that. And you'll see in the traffic study, if you look at the traffic study, the more, the irony of it is, under state law, the more density you have at this location, the better you are. Because getting those 80,000 cars from the freeway right to there and to get into their beds, whether it's a townhome or whether it's a hotel unit, much better than driving 10 miles up the road. And that's how the state law is structured. So we'd be glad to go over the water study with you, the traffic study, and we did, I should mention, I guess I didn't mention this, super cumulative traffic study. So we did our cumulative according to CEQA, but then DOT came to us 7 months ago and said, hey, you really need to do a super cumulative. It's going to take 120 more days. It's going to take, I don't know how many thousands of dollars to do in case Costco goes, in case Marble Valley goes, in case Lime Rock goes, and Generation. So I think we did 4, and they said, okay, now if all of these go, what does it look like? And what do you have to pay at that point, as they all have to pay as well? And where's the traffic going to be? But I'll reiterate, it was so funny. The VMT, the vehicle miles traveled, is the new barometer, kind of how you measure this stuff in the state. The more density you have there, the better off you are for VMT. So those are some of, but we'd be happy to go over any of those. And yeah, the whole study is back there. Yeah. Well, there were a lot of questions. Sorry.
Good evening. My name is Giovanni Ottolini. I'm a labor rep for Carpenter's Local 46 in Sacramento. I appreciate your comments concerning the Mohana family and their concern for the workers of the facility, not wanting them to drive, long distances unnecessary and having a place to live closely. I also care about my brothers and sisters, the hundreds of hardworking families, blue collar families that live here in El Dorado County. And my question to you is, are you going to mandate that the people that build this project, are they going to mandate that they pay craft standards for what the DIR states for each craft, the wage for that craft?
DIR?
Department of Industrial Prevailing Wage. Is this going to be a prevailing wage project?
Well, we're gonna look at all of that as the Mahana family looked at their 19J project. Sit down with all those pieces of organized labor, yourself, Giovanni, and Sasso, the president of the Labor Council, and understand what we're trying to accomplish with our village of these units for
because
our employees.
I've sent several emails over the last year and I've yet to get a response. So nobody's contacted our council
Well,
And-
it's interesting,
and
Giovanni,
I've
because one
sent
of,
several emails trying to get
Uh,
in contact and get a sit, so.
well, we'd be happy to
Okay,
reply
I
to you.
left my card with the parties involved.
Yeah, one of your comrades in arms came to one or two of our meetings.
It would
And
have been me.
no, but I've talked, this was 4 years ago, 3 years
Well, I
ago.
look forward to talking to you guys.
Yeah, but we're happy to talk to them. We're happy to talk to you.
Hello, members of the APAC, thank you for having the meeting, and Supervisor Hidell. Good evening. My name is Randy LaFromme. I'm a resident of Bridlewood
Leave
Canyon
anything out
here
here?
in El Dorado Hills.
Go ask
Here
Mr.
tonight to
Mahana
share my
if I've
thoughts on
left
the Town and
anything.
Country El Dorado
Slip.
project. As a longtime resident, I've witnessed the community's growth and changes over the years. Initially, I've had reservations about the new developments, given concerns about school overcrowding and traffic congestion. However, with careful consideration, I believe this project addresses these concerns while offering significant benefits to the community. First, unlike large residential developments, this project will not impact our already crowded schools or significantly increase local traffic. Its strategic location near the highway means most visitors won't need to use our local streets. Furthermore, the inclusion of an on-site employee housing will minimize additional commuter traffic. What sets this project apart is its vision. Inspired by the majestic Ahwahnee Hotel in Yosemite, it promises to be a landmark that we can be proud of, a place we'll be excited to show our visiting friends and family. This isn't just another development, it's a carefully planned community space that includes an event center, hotel, and museum. I'd like to emphasize this project is far from a hodgepodge of buildings or a collection of gas stations, convenience stores, or fast food shops. It's not just another faceless strip mall or a massive residential development that would bring thousands of new residents and overwhelm our infrastructure. Instead, it is a thoughtfully designed, world-class facility that will enhance our community's character and appeal. And this isn't 50 or 100 feet away from the freeway like a lot of the projects as you drive down Highway 50. This project's main building is situated almost 800 feet away from the freeway, creating a buffer that preserves the natural landscape and it minimizes the visual impact. This design choice demonstrates a commitment to integrating the development harmoniously with our existing environment. I'm particularly impressed by the project's commitment to preserving our natural and historical heritage. The plans prioritize the preservation of our beloved oak trees, maintain significant portions of the historic Lincoln Highway and the Pony Express trails. It's refreshing to see a development that builds around our history rather than over it. Moreover, this project addresses a current gap in our community, a central gathering place. The Town and Country Village will provide a hub for community events, a place to learn about our local history, and a showcase for what will make El Dorado Hills special. It's worth noting that while this development will only utilize about 15 of the 60 acres for its actual buildings, the remaining 75% is dedicated to open space or parks.
Time is almost up.
In conclusion, I believe the Town and Country Village project represents a thoughtful, community-oriented development that aligns with our character and the needs of development of the hills. Let's seize this opportunity to create something special for El Dorado Hills. This project checks all the boxes, a place that will bring us together, celebrate our heritage, and contribute positively to our community. Thank you for your time.
Hello, my name's Dan Anderson. I've been a resident of El Dorado County since 1979. My dad bought this property off of Bass Lake Road with the vision of it eventually going to get improved. We watched many meetings and watched this be overlooked over many years, being Scenic View in 1996. Then my dad got really excited before he passed about this neighbor that was wanting to develop this land next door to us. And he was really excited before we lost him on the 13th of January this year. I was hoping that he would actually see this development here. He waited his whole life to watch something happen in this valley. He was a pioneer of this valley. He was there forever. He supported this from the end, right from the beginning with Mo. Mo's been very kind, been over this, been very informative and letting us know what's going to happen to our neighborhood. We still plan on living there. We've got a lot of pride in this. I keep telling my friends, we're going to see some pretty stuff in our valley. And me and my sister came here today to support this development. We're long-term members. We don't plan on going anywhere. So we really respect this and respect Mo. So thank you.
Well, thank you.
Evening, Frank Porter. I'm a 40-year resident of El Dorado Hills, Lake Hills Estates, and I'm here on behalf of Housing El Dorado tonight to read a statement on behalf of our board of directors. Housing El Dorado applauds the developer of Town and Country Village for including much-needed employee housing as a key component of this project. The inclusion of these 56 units, much-needed deed-restricted hotel housing units, in the proposed project in combination with another 56 units available for rent on a daily or extended basis is forward thinking. By providing staff housing options close to work, this project will reduce commute times, decrease traffic congestion, enhance the quality of life for workers. By making it possible for employees to live where they work, the project fosters a more connected, engaged community. This is a practical and compassionate solution that addresses both environmental impacts and the county's critical need for additional workforce housing. This is clearly a model for future development projects in our county. We urge the county to support and approve this project. Thank you.
Great.
Good evening. My name is Linda Seymour. I'm a resident of Bar J Ranch, and I live less than 2 miles from the proposed improvement site. My in-laws were some of the original builders in Bar J, building in 1989. My husband and I inherited the home in 2011 and loved it so much we chose to become part of the community. Let me start by giving you the definition of the word improve. It's a verb. It means to make better or become better, to achieve or produce better than, to make more acceptable or being nearer to a standard. Improvement is part of a civilized society. Part of being a civilized society is treating our natural resources with respect and being good stewards of our land, our history, and our community. California is a leader in protecting its natural resources with its regulations and demands and implementing alternatives that bridge the gaps between the natural occurrence of improvements as a society grows. This project stands far above common land improvement projects. It is a leader in the standards that California expects from their partners with developing improved communities. With this improvement, detailed attention has been paid to exactly what is important to the citizens of this community. There has been extensive individual studies done on the environmental impact regarding the water, the wildlife, the trees, just to name a few. In addition, the people that are involved with this improvement have a personal desire for the preservation of each chapter of its history, from Native Americans, the Lincoln Highway, to the present chapter with its current residents and businesses. A large portion of this improvement includes a museum that has focused attention to detail. They want nothing left out of this museum so that our future generations can understand that they are part of the living history of this area. From the rich and cultural history of the Native Americans, housing artifacts, and preserving the written and pictorial history of the Lincoln Highway. It also includes a chapter of our present history in the making and how the stewards of the land use its resources to bring in commerce, camaraderie, and fellowship. I believe there has been some confusion with the Town and Country project with other projects. This improvement project has never fallen underneath the quote, scarified, disregard, and develop column. Improvements have to happen in order for any society to move forward. Now is the time that we should move forward with this incredible project so that we can show how it should be done working with the communities, our history, and our natural resources. The family that is making the improvements have been involved in this vision for well over a decade. They raised their family in El Dorado Hills and love the landscape of the community, Cameron Park, and Shingle Springs area. They are compassionate, mature, and have a strong desire in seeing something that will bring the community they love together and it done correctly. The danger is not pushing forward with this improvement now. It is now that we might lose the window of opportunity to show how improvements can support our history in our communities.
Thank you, Linda. And thank you. All right.
Hello, everybody. I'm Mindy Danavaro, and I too am a resident of El Dorado County. One thing I want to impress upon this group is there is a severe lack of event space in our county. I've gone to countless events. I've seen many of you at events within our county. Other than the fairgrounds, there is no facility that can accommodate more than 200 people. You know, we have a number, there's one right here that everybody uses, Serrano, but it's limited in space. And so the ability to have a beautiful site located close to the freeway for access for guests that are coming from out of our county to attend our events, and those from within our county that may be coming from further out in the county. Having a beautiful site like this will draw people, will draw other nonprofits, draw events to our community, and we are severely lacking in a resource as beautiful as this to hold events within our community. So thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Sandra Rolfe. I've been a resident of El Dorado County for about 17 years now. And we've been to a number of the presentations, and the more I hear, the more I get excited. And there's many things to be excited about that you've heard about tonight. But one of the things that I think is important is how this project will help El Dorado County as a whole, socially and economically, especially with having the museum being here. And we have various museums in El Dorado County, Placerville. Nobody knows that they're there. And I think what we've been calling this is El Dorado County is kind of like the gateway to El Dorado Hills is the gateway to El Dorado County. And would this be the stopping spot? You know, people will hopefully want to stay instead of making their way to South Lake Tahoe. It's kind of like Placerville. It's like, where's Placerville? Oh yeah, it's right halfway between Sacramento and Tahoe where we're going, but nobody stops. And if they stay here and see everything that's being offered, they might want to stay. They'll spend their money. They'll visit the wineries. And I think the project is going to help with preserving and promoting our rich history that a lot of us don't know all of our history, but we learn it little by little. And this is the perfect place to learn about it and stop. You know, go visit Clarksville that one time every 2 years that they're open. See, start talking. What we've been saying is that if you build it, and I hate to take from Field of Dreams, but if you build it, they will come. So if you build it here, they'll come to El Dorado County. They'll stay in El Dorado County. They may decide maybe we don't need to go to Lake Tahoe because there's so much here to experience. I mentioned Clarksville. The Lincoln Highway is very important. The Pony Express trails. All of our old cemeteries and the homes and schoolhouses and things that people don't realize what our earliest settlers went through. Coloma, Sutter's Mill, where gold was discovered. A lot of people think, oh, Sacramento and Sutter's Fort. No, it started at the mill. It didn't start at the fort. Bring the people here and visit what we have. Placerville, good old Hangtown. I mean, where thievery and robbery and other crimes weren't tolerated. The Lincoln Highway, it continues through there. The Pony Express Trail had their stop there. Studebaker wheelbarrows started there. I mean, there was just so much that people need to learn about our county. Placerville, we have the oldest hardware store west of the Mississippi. I mean, if you're looking for something, go there. You're going to find it. You're not going to find it anywhere else. The old IOF buildings. I mean, it just the things that California was built on, the things that El Dorado County was built on, and people don't know. But if they stop here, they'll get an overview and they'll get excited, like we're excited, and they'll want to stay. And if they stay, they're going to spend their money. Thank you.
Sandra. Anybody else in the room that would like to? One more. And then we'll go to online and see if there's anybody who has questions online, but jump right in there.
My name's Dina Incati. I'm here on a personal reason, although I am the health advocate for El Dorado County. And next Monday, I'm going to be in public health as an emergency preparedness health educator. So I'm here with my personal views of county concerns as well as neighbor concerns. As a neighbor, I'm actually very excited for this project. It's less than a half mile away. I'm like one parcel from this project. There are some concerns that I have brought up. They have been very accommodating in addressing concerns. I did arrive late today, so I may not have heard all of your answers to some of that I expressed. One of the ones that I would like to know is the exit point from the current project seems to be on the new Country Club Drive. That used to be my own old rickety driveway. So it's gotten expanded recently. If the housing, and that's the excellent point, is it going to be expanded further or is it going to remain a 2-lane road? So that's question one. And then question two is, in my current position, the number one needed thing in the county is affordable housing. We don't have affordable housing. Up in Placerville, up in Grizzly Flats, anywhere, there's no affordable housing. So the fact that they are having housing for the
Cat, get away.
employees, I think is very important. Will it be subsidized? Will the wages pay for that housing and the rent is my other question.
All right, Dina, am I on? Let me just address first the country club issue. That road is what it now is and will be, as far as I understand, on DOT.
There's no plans to expand that I've seen.
Yeah, no plans. The traffic analysis, this will be an entry. Michael, maybe you can pull up our entry point there. This will be an entry at that location for both the project down below here and the cottages, the two villages here, the one for the staff and one for the hotel. So there'll be an entry right here and it weaves in these trees and comes out in that kind of a circular in a.
Will there be a turnout area or?
Yeah, we haven't designed that yet, but we've talked about a variety of things. We've talked about a roundabout there.
Okay.
So that cars can get out safely. That's a very, very high-speed area right before the light.
On a curve.
Down on that curve. So DOT is looking at that and analyzing what the traffic has to be. They're analyzing the traffic study and what should go there. Maybe a little close to the corner for another light at this point. So we're kind of looking at all of those things. And DOT will make the final judgment and they'll recommend to the board what those improvements should be. And then we'll pay for those improvements out of the project.
Thank you. And what about the housing situation? Just, that's a curiosity one for me.
Yeah, you know, when we looked at it, when we saw what was happening in the housing situation and we talked to hoteliers and we have our hotel consultant for the family for the last 25 years, Ron Berger, who's ran the Sheraton down the way. He said, hey, if we could have housing for staff. So then we started looking at the county's need, what their need is. And those will be units that will be very affordable for those folks who work in those facilities. And we haven't decided what piece of the range it'll meet on the affordability side, because there's a variety of ranges in there. But that'll be something we'll talk to the board about as we move toward the board and the planning staff and make a decision of what that income level is. And what we'll do is we'll take the hotel, the restaurant, and the retail staff, and we'll do a complete analysis on it and come up with a number that works. The reason we split it in half was that we thought that the hotel units or the for sale units, whichever they're going to be, but they'll still be hotel units that people can rent out. If Gene Wyckoff wanted to come home and wanted a small unit, or somebody else in the summer, and then she wants to rent it out, or in the winter, and she wants to rent it out in the summer to the hotel, then she would just vacate and that unit would be rentable on an ongoing basis, nightly and multi-nights, we think. So we think that will help justify what we're doing over on the staff side and will economically make it work within the whole development. So it'll be absorbed, the lower cost for those units for employees who live right there, which 3,000 feet away, will absorb that in the whole development cost. We're just blended in. So the actual number, how much it'll depend on when we get there. But when we make our decision with the board, I think the board will say, well, we want you to be in this range because this will help the overall economy and your employees are going to be in this range. So you should be, their numbers, their percentage like 30% of the overall medium income, right? Or yeah. And so what is it? If you're making 30% of the median income and then you have a number that corresponds with that square footage of the unit.
That would be a great asset to the entire county.
We appreciate it.
We need that.
We think so.
Yeah.
We think selfishly, it'll be a great thing for the hotel project, and there's nothing like somebody just up, anybody who walks or bikes to work knows that that's the thing to do.
One quick other question I just missed. You mentioned a 10-acre bike park. Is that the cumulative of your trails or is that
No,
one location?
this is a 10-acre that was approved by the Community Service District, I think in October last year. We went and supported it. So
Oh, it's on the other side of the
yeah,
basket. Okay.
you're down here.
On the west side of Bastrop.
It's right below the fire station.
The
property.
fire station is here.
6 and then the
And,
CSD.
yeah.
So that's like a off-road trail
Yeah.
type
It's a
thingy.
mountain bike trail. They have a variety of things in a very exciting proposal. And so we're hopeful that we can make all the connectivity from these places and then down at the district church as well. And as we've said before, Foothills, I've met with Pastor Brian, I've met with Reverend Tom, Father Beck is gone now. And what we've said is there's such parking infrastructure at those facilities that we're gonna, and we've committed in traffic analysis, that once people have a wedding in Holy Trinity, they're gonna park there, leave their cars there. They won't be driving out. If they stay at the hotels, then they'll leave their cars here and we'll shuttle them to Holy Trinity. Same way with Faith. And then above that, beyond the parking right, we've talked to each one of those folks about how we can, if we have an event here and we have more parking need besides the parking ride, we talked to transit staff about it. How can we help cooperate and maybe help fund some of those parking places so that they get utilized?
Are you still considering like electric transportation
Oh, yeah.
or horse and buggy
That'll be
transportation or?
Horse and buggy, we would really like to do. And we'd like to do it from the churches, because that would be a beautiful thing coming into and then it's gonna be a low carbon vehicle of some type. There's a lot happening, but electric is the top piece. But yeah, it'll be a low carbon vehicle for the shuttles.
Just to end real quick, I think development's gonna come no matter what. It would be great to have a village community feel coming in versus an isolated siloed feel where everyone's just locked in their homes and they don't know their neighbors. It's really important to get community up and going again, especially after COVID. So
Totally agree. Thank you. Thank you.
So are there any more in the room after this one? Just want to make sure, because we have some online and we got to get to them and we're already over on time. But you're next. So hold on online. Oops. Okay. Go right ahead.
Try to keep it to 3 minutes if you can, though.
Our enforcer's gone, but
That's all
do your
right.
best.
Good evening. My name is Peter Evenes. I am a resident not far from here. I am a little biased to the fact that everybody's talking about employee housing. I've been a general manager at Hilton Hotels and the like for 45 years. So what does this typically mean? Well, you end up in a suite, in a couple of rooms with a connecting door, and your children learn not to say their first words as mommy or daddy, but rather shh, quiet. So the idea of having employee housing where you know that you will have people that work there stay is absolutely, I'm a little biased about it because also in Europe, that's pretty traditional, where hotel homes, older homes that have been in families sometimes 100 years, that's what they do. They provide housing for the employees. So this is a typical thing where somebody is looking forward and ahead. as opposed to the old fashioned way, well, we don't care what they do after they clock out. In fact, I probably wouldn't be standing here if this were the strip mall and the Motel 6. This is so much more. This is a dream of a gentleman that's coming into reality. So, yeah, there's some twists and corners that need to be taken and approvals from the board of supervisors, but overall, this is going to be such a entrance business card to this county. It's going to be just something phenomenal. A little bit height restrictions and the likes. Actually, I love it that people can see it from the freeway. It's the best marketing that you can have. It's pretty. It's not a Motel 6, kind of like a Bidwell when you look at those Hampton Inn, and in the morning you kind of figure out, where am I? They're all the same.
Been there.
So this one is going to be so unique that it's really going to be a wonderful addition. I'm all in favor. That's all I can say. Thank you.
Okay, and Jeff, we're gonna come to you next. Just hold on one more minute.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're next. We have one more here in the room.
That's fine. I just don't know if you can hear me because
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Thank you.
Keep it to 30 minutes.
Good job.
I'll be real quick. John Albano, I live on just north of the project site. I'm just really excited about this project for a whole lot of reasons. I think it's just a huge improvement to this. I think desperately needed for some kind of gathering place on this side of town. Look at how successful town center is. Walk through town center and you see people gathering and people having dinner and their kids playing, and it's a very healthy thing for the community. Also, I think beautiful architecture has a real positive effect on the human brain. And when someone mentioned earlier, gee, what about the line of sight? And gee, will you see this big thing of, well, like it's been mentioned before, I'd sure rather see something like that than a Motel 6 or a AM PM mini market, whatever. Just as a resident, I mean, how many reasons to have another restaurant choice for one thing? We're really, really needy for that. Just my only complaint about this project is that it's not happening soon enough. I just hope it happens really soon.
Okay, we're gonna jump online. Jeff, it sounds like you're ready to go.
Can you hear me?
Yes, perfectly.
Okay, cool. Yeah, on that note from the previous guy, I kind of wish this happened 20 years ago. It was about 3 years ago that I got some email about go up to Mohana Ranch I never heard of, about this development on this trail connectivity, which is a buzzword for me because as a El Dorado Hills resident for 25 years now, and seeing 3 master plans go through, where one of the top things that citizens talk about is trails and trail connectivity. These guys, the Mohana family and Josh and them, they've been talking about trail connectivity. And so I went to that first meeting and I got fed really well. but it's like, wow, these guys aren't just developers. Like, let me take Blackstone is a very beautiful community, okay? It's like Danville, though. Nobody, like the developer had a trail plan that they had to have a check mark. And what they did was weed whacked in some stupid, dumb, steep, nobody likes them trails. Like dumb, like what a waste. And the guys with this Town and Country have been talking about doing it right from day one. And I'm a trail guy, just so you know. It's like they get it and they're working above and beyond the call of duty to ensure that people from, Town Center, El Dorado Hills proper, even Cameron Park can connect around town without getting in their vehicle, and they can run, hike, walk, bike to get around. And it's just been amazing. And then on top of that, I'm so impressed with how they are dealing with the history of the area, the Lincoln Highway, the stuff, Tong Road is the Lincoln High. I mean, they're just, these aren't normal developers that just want to, make a bunch of money and move on to the next project. They are trying to develop something off of a major highway that actually looks awesome. The whole Awani look is great. It's tasteful. I remember people hated the idea of the town center, and look how popular that is now. And those apartments, look how popular those are now. But these guys have a very beautiful design. They're dealing with history. They're putting casitas or whatever they're called for the staff that doesn't have to drive from Lodi to come up and work there. It's great. Like, there's nothing wrong with this program other than people in our area that have I call it, well, I don't call it, I saw it online, it's called last settlers syndrome. Last settlers syndrome is the last person coming in doesn't ever want anything to change. Well, that boat floated away 30 years ago when the previous person thought that. So anyway, I am in favor of this. These guys are in a great place with connectivity to the east, the west, the north. And when Marble Valley, unfortunately, is built, instead of being a regional park, it'll be outstanding for those people that buy houses down there to come to a brewery or a restaurant or something at Town and Country right there at Bass Lake and Highway 50 and 100% in. I'm
Thank
out.
you, Jeff.
Thanks.
Excellent. So are there any more people online? If you have your hand up, we'll go to you.
John, I just had a comment if there's no one else.
It's up to you, Brooke. Go ahead.
I know that you guys had said, you threw in the commercial side with apartments in the commercial space as kind of like a pipe dream and something you'd revisit. And my 2 cents being a lot of the communities around us have invested heavily in sports tourism. And with a hotel like this, if you were to incorporate into your design some elements of some, soccer fields, baseball fields, things that can host a tournament, you likely would also have a huge revenue source for the county because we don't have anything like that. And it seems like the property is kind of deemed in a way that it would facilitate such a lovely destination tournament or sporting event. You can think triathlons as well, marathons, destination sporting activities. So my 2 cents for something to take a look at on that other property that you were talking about.
Okay.
Thank you, Brooke. Okay. So with that, it looks like there are no more questions for you, Josh.
No, well, thank you. Appreciate it. I want to, Kenny's children, they're adults, but they left. But I want to just take a moment on Kenny Anderson. His son got up and spoke. And before Kenny died, he called me. I was traveling somewhere, and Josh, Kenny said, "You'd have to carry on without me." And I said, "Kenny, what's up?" "Well, I got cancer, but my kids will be there." And so when they came out, we've had a lot of support in the whole, but and Kenny was a curmudgeon. He was, what are we going to do now? And these guys have known him longer. Dave and Mahana have known him a lot longer, but yeah, he died January 13th. So I wanted to take a moment for him and really appreciate that. When he said that, I never thought I'd be standing in a meeting and his son and daughter would come up and continue the support for 45 years. So appreciate all your time. Anybody who has any questions, you'd like to come out, we take personal tours, we give individual tours, we give group tours, and appreciate all you folks who've come. Mindy, Marshall Hospital has been just a fabulous, you're not representing them, but you're personally an El Dorado citizen, but everybody who's been through the ranch has really seen the vision. And if everyone wants to come to the ranch and see Mr. Mahana's latest handiwork, it's a beautiful 19-foot long, 7-foot wide whole map of the whole county. And if you haven't seen it, come up. It's his vision that he has had for a long time. John talked about the Winery Association. We've been fully vested with them from talks of signage on, some big monuments, and come and see the, I don't think you've been over to see it either, George. I mean, you got to come and see this 19 by, and when he ran out of wall space, what did he do? He turned the corner. And when you see it in a turn, you'll just say, wow, that's quite a, and it has everything on it. We spent a lot of time making sure that with everything, I don't think, we couldn't find the synagogue. We have the churches, but there was a synagogue in El Dorado Hills, but we couldn't find it. It had moved, and yeah, we went to great lengths, so the map is complete. And if you can find something or you're not on it, tell us, and at the next iteration on our sheet, we'll put you on. So come out, give us a call, give us an email. I'm sorry we missed this guy's email, but we'll get a hold of him. And yeah, tell us. We're here and we're taking information. September 9th is the final 5 p.m. Got to get your comments in to the county, and there'll be some shifts and shakes out of that. We'll make some changes out of the draft comments in the final. So yeah, so September 9th, 5 p.m. Thank you all for your time. Appreciate it.
Well, again, John had mentioned it. We appreciate the engagement you've shown with APAC and also in the community around Bass Lake. We appreciate the amount of engagement, the outreach, and the initial conversations were, what do you think? So that's a little different from what we're used to seeing for most development projects. So we appreciate that. And thank you for coming back again. We're glad we could squeeze you in before the 9th. And with that, I will mention, if you have comments that you want to share with APAC to submit on the draft environmental impact report, public comment period, I'm leaving this weekend, so I need stuff by Friday at the latest, and I'll get it in Saturday and we'll submit it Sunday, but I'm gone after that. My email's on the agenda, so you'll see that, or you can use the email address on the website. So with that, we have basically one item to get through, and I'm committed to getting through it. So y'all gonna have to sit through this with me. So the thing we like to do at the end of our meetings is to just give a kind of a highlight of where we're at with projects. There's still, we're looking at our projects that are in process. Supervisor Heidel mentioned the Costco, which was previously DH52 in Costco. Costco's purchased both sides of the property of Silver Valley Road. Silver Valley Parkway. We don't know where that's going to be. There was a scoping meeting 3 years ago. I think it was during COVID. So it was a scoping meeting. We're waiting for an updated planning document, and it sounds like the 9th might be the day.
Yep.
So the 9th is a high watermark day for us. We just talked about Town and Country Village again, that public period. Any comments you want to make, there's we have the documents on our website. You can submit them via email. If you want to share some with us that you'd like us to include, go ahead and pass this along to us. You can submit your own for yourself as well. Creekside Village, we've had a presentation. They're preparing their draft environmental impact report. They've been very engaged with our transportation and environmental standing committees. So George, we appreciate that dialogue continues on. We had talked about the Community for Health and Independence, which is the AKT and UC Davis. They had a pre-application hearing at the Board of Supervisors. Still waiting for an application to be submitted. We don't know where that's at, but when we'll know, you'll know. The Carson Creek R&D project that we talked about earlier tonight, the parcel split. went through today at the zoning administrator, but they do have, and I didn't put on this slide, they have submitted an application for a specific plan that incorporates mixed use along with the warehouse, the R&D compatible type of uses that they're zoned for, but also multifamily, some housing, commercial. So it's just a pre-application. We don't know what that's going to look like. So stand by. I think that our questions that we submitted were, you're curious about, on one hand, you have this parcel split that's been going on for 2 years, 3 years, 2 years. But now you have this other project that's being proposed. The parcel split was approved today. The zoning administrator, ministerially, what is the other project? Is it leveraging what the parcel split did? We don't know until we see the actual application. Marble Valley specific plan, 3,200 homes. Lime Rock Valley specific plan, 800 homes, both at the south end of Bass Lake Road, south of Highway 50. We're waiting for the final environmental impact reports on both those projects. We submitted our draft EIR comments on those, so we're waiting for those to come back. I know that they had been suggested to be before the Planning Commission on September 26th and 27th for 2 days of hearings. However, we've heard subsequent to that that is not going to happen. It's potentially in the November timeframe. We might learn more about that. But until it's official, we don't know. Generations at Green Valley, we just finished submitting our draft environmental impact reports on that project, waiting for the final EIR on that. They also believe that they'll be in the late fall, early winter, trying to get before the Planning Commission and the Board of Supervisors on that project. And that's Green Valley Road. It's the old Dixon Ranch project, but it's a little less dense. And they were here last month to explain that project to us. And we mentioned the Bass Lake Family Apartments. That was approved at the zoning administrator, but there's an appeal pending. And again, that's Supervisor Heil had sort of framed that as, you know, these are projects that the state of California says, if you have commercial property, you can put multifamily, low income or lower affordable housing on that by right. So we'll find out what that means for El Dorado County, because, you know, I think that law was intended for a more suburban type of environment. What does that mean for us? Well, we're all going to sit through it and find out. So with that, there'll be more projects coming. Apparently they don't stop. I'll remind everyone that if you want to submit public comments in advance of our meetings, if you can't be here, you can email edhapac.comment@gmail.com. Need it by Monday. The intent of that is that if you submit it Monday, we can get it to the project applicant or a guest speaker and try to have them prepared to answer the question at the meeting. So with that, our next meeting is October 9th. I don't even know what we're going to talk about, but we'll be here November 9th, 6:30 p.m. in this room. And thank you all for your patience tonight. It's a lot to go through. We tried to limit it to just the one project. Ouch. We'll do better next time. But it wasn't 3 hours. So with that, it looks like we are adjourned this evening. And thank you, and everybody enjoy the rest of the week. Try to stay cool.